Yeah, sorry, I was in and out. I was just creating kind of an exercise on the spot, and I'm good with that.
It
So
looked like you were getting that done, so that's why I figured
I
I'd give you a
was,
little
no,
bit of
I
time. I was having
appreciate
fun
that,
with it.
and I'm sorry if I was, half attentive.
No, I
I mean,
enjoyed some IDP talk because, like I said, it's new for me this year. So,
in the Shark Tank, the Shrink Tank diaries that we've done have been really fun. We need, Kyle and I and Rich have all talked about needing to get more of those out because I think others in the league have really been enjoying those and seeing Kyle struggle, but also kind of seeing the thought process of someone just jumping into a format that seems like a lot of others have quite a bit of experience with, and that I think is a nice exercise. Um, for all dynasty players to do, and even fantasy, just broadening it out to, um, to really any league as as you get more and more experienced, it's harder. You kind of lose sight of what it was like to just be jumping into this
right.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's like you were talking about establishing a value system, and once you have that, it's a little bit easier. But
Mhm.
coming straight into it or coming from a redraft league to a dynasty, it's like it's like, okay, well, where do I start? It's like, okay,
yeah,
well, most people say like age and use some rankings to start or whatever, but like you don't have a concept of like when you get that first trade coming in, like you don't even know
yeah.
what
I
it
know.
means. It's like, okay, you start with like, do I like that player or not? And then it's like, okay, well, what do I do next?
Well,
And
and
it's kind of
rankings.
nice
Where
to
do you
see.
find rankings? IDP
Sure.
rankings are few and far between, and sometimes they go, okay, well, Shark Tank, we've got all the spots broken in. We've
Yeah.
got defensive tackle, defensive end, we've got linebacker. We don't have rush linebacker separated or edge, but we have cornerback, we have safety. Well, if somebody combines all defensive backs, well, I need to know the difference between these safeties and these cornerbacks. Like that's hard. You can't even look at a good set of rankings and get the same equivalency. So,
There's no rankings, or especially for cornerbacks, there's no good rankings. So, yeah. And I think what you mentioned, Jeremy, I think we have an evaluation of your process and what Kyle does. I, from my viewpoint, everyone should do that from time to time, um, and it's pretty brave to do it by video and show it to the world, because it takes some guts to show your own struggles, because people always look for struggles. We don't look for the success story. We look to the guy who struggles and look what kind of bad trade he made. There's usually nothing beneficial in telling you, hey, I struggled and I needed some time to accustom myself, but that's what everyone goes through. If you do something new, you have to learn, you have to adjust, and if it's something like this, you have to adjust on the fly. And if you don't do that, you're lost.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a weird kind of split that we have mentally where, the news is primarily focused on negative. Looking at Keenan Allen, like more people are talking about Keenan Allen failing this week than Darren Waller having a great, start for a
Yeah.
lot of teams that likely are in the playoffs because he's like tight end 3 or 2,
Hunter
something
Henry
like.
killing me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like really good performances, but that's not our default. But then when we look for what we are willing to talk about, we're more willing to talk about our successes. We're more willing to, go on camera and talk about that rather
Yeah.
than like this is really hard and I don't know what's going on. Like so many like such less people do that, and I get it because you're trying to convey an image of, I know what to do and I'm telling you
Yeah.
what you should do, and but that's my whole kind of issue with a lot of like advice seeking. Like certainly, again, we just talked about somebody joining Dynasty, fresh or anew,
Yeah.
but and they're looking for someone to say like this is what you should do. But that's
Yeah.
why I think we've structured our show to be, well, that shouldn't be the first question you ask. The first question you should be asking is, what am I bringing to the table, and where am I going to fall into pitfalls, and what do I want to prioritize? And then you can go from there. And then you can take any of those questions and advice and all that as just another data point rather than the data point.
All right. Exactly. I'm going to kick us off with our commissioner show. I think we basically just had an entire extra episode.
Yeah, that was
IDP
really cool.
Right there. So
content.
Right?
Yeah.
We might be able to break that chunk into something else too.
Life talk. Yeah.
Right. Well, welcome to Dynasty Self Help, a podcast helping you self-actualize in the hobby of Dynasty Fantasy Football, a show where we help you sort the facts from the narratives, because our split show, we are really good at that, especially in home games when we lead in the fourth quarter at night in a dome in December wearing our light SFBX uniforms. I'm Kyle LaPointe, downloading my thoughts to you from Fort Worth, Texas, and joining us from State College, Pennsylvania is my co-host, Jeremy Schwob. How are you now?
I am tremendous. It's a nice Saturday early afternoon, at least where we are. Not going to stop us from drinking, but it's a little different time for our guest at this current hour. I don't even know what time it is.
It's 5:30 over here. So my kid's going to be ready for bed in about 2 hours, and I'm going to have some free time in 3 hours. So, yeah, it's early evening here in Germany.
All right. Well, why don't I introduce that mystery voice that we have here? We have an awesome guest from across the pond, as you may have just found out there. We have Peter Gent coming from Germany right now. You may know Peter from his Shark Tank leagues. I believe it's the second season the Shark Tank leagues, and then the Eurovision Fantasy Football contest, which I believe is in its second year running that contest, which is really, really, really cool. And, I'm excited to be a part of that in some capacity heading into season 3. But Peter, we're really excited to have you. We can all follow you if if for some reason you're not following Peter already at the _FF_German, a lot of underscores in there, but you type in German and it'll probably start popping up as one of the few that represents Deutschland.
Yeah,
we're excited to have you.
I'm honored to be on with you guys. As I told Kyle, this is my first ever podcast. I never did one, never wanted to do really one, but I find this format fitting. I like it because it's unique and it's not the standard flavor of give me some advice and who do I sit, who do I start. It's more about the process of playing Dynasty and your opinions on it, and it has a different kind of vibe, and that's what I like. I'm not a guy who lives for the standard things.
Well, that means a lot to us. I mean, that's definitely, what we're shooting for there is, talking about the process. We used, we try not to use a lot of personal examples, but, we had talked briefly about, Keenan Allen and the decisions and why one person starts and why one person doesn't in the playoffs. And, that's really the nuts and bolts of it, not whether it worked. It's more or less, did you think through your process and follow your standard process? Would you have done it that same way with a different player? And as long as you can narrow things down to that, you're going to be a lot more successful and happy with the successes you get.
Yeah. And as we talked with Keenan Allen, I'm happy with my decision, but I could also be very unhappy if he would have gone off. So at the end of the day, it's you have to try to make the best decision for yourself and live with it. I wouldn't even bother if he got 150 and 2 touchdowns, because in the end of the day, from my risk reward was, or my thinking was, that if he has a bad hamstring, the Chargers play for nothing, and why should they play him a lot? And as usual, he went for one reception, I think, for 13 yards. I haven't even looked at snaps, but it's clear that he wasn't really healthy. So I made the right decision, but I could have gone wrong also.
I can remember benching Calvin Johnson in similar situation. Oh yeah, he's so hurt. 4 touchdowns and 800 yards, something ridiculous. Like I mean, we all have to learn our process because, do you bench your star wide receiver when you know he could potentially just be a decoy, or is the injury a decoy? We just don't have any of those of that information. We've talked about that before. We don't have enough of that information to make a true assessment, and we have to decide which data points we trust and, make a decision. I think for me, joining the Shark Tank 2 League this year has really helped me personally with that type of an issue. Like I used to really sweat start-sit decisions. And, I know Jeremy is really good about going, I made this pick. Good. I'm good. I made my decision. I'm fine with it. And he moves on. I would always just beat myself up. Oh, I did this and I shouldn't have done that. But having a league where I have to start 21 players, I don't find myself beating myself up over these decisions so much because I got 21 decisions to make. That's a lot of beating up, and I don't think I can take that much abuse. So it really has helped me, in that regard, not sweat that one player quite so much.
I think I have an easy solution for you. Join more IDP leagues, because at one point I think I have 6 or 7 leagues, and every one of these leagues has, I think, 20 to 22 starters. So at one point you don't even think about it anymore. You set the best lineup, look for injuries, and when you're good to go. And if you have made a fault, so be it.
Yeah, and I think that there's so many psychological things that we can do for ourselves to make ourselves feel more comfortable, which is kind of the ultimate goal here. Ultimately you want to make the right decision, but you don't know that until after the fact. So what we're all seeking is feeling more comfortable with our decisions and the process by which we make those decisions. And for Peter, you might join more leagues. For Kyle, you may join bigger leagues that there's less of that anxiety with the decision. For me, or more leagues that have different things going on, so it's detracting away. If you had 2 leagues, you're going to sweat over those decisions a lot more. And for me, it's drafting all the same players in the same league, so it's X number of leagues, but it's basically the same decisions across those. And sure, that has a lot of impact, but you make the decision, you feel good enough about it, and realize that there's a lot of luck and uncertainty in this game that we play, and then you move on to the next week, and it's basically like making one decision 9 times rather than 9 different decisions that I'm going to be sweating over all the time.
And I think that's what helps me too. I usually have a lot of the same players, so I either have a player or I don't have the player. And I think last week on your last show was the Value Summit with Izzy, and he says never trade. If you got your guy, it's worth everything. And if this is the right mindset, and I'm more of the kind of guy who trades for his guy and has a limit on it. So I won't sell the farm for him, but I overpay for him just because I want to have the player and because I like to root for the player. So example for this is Landon Collins, formerly of the Giants, now safety of the Redskins, and everyone laughs in every new IDP auction because everyone knows that I want the player, and I don't even care what price it is. I get Landon Collins or I trade for him. So and
I think it's just that it's important that you know that about yourself, right? So that it's not catching you off guard at various points, and it's maybe from a value sense, which, I think is important, but not probably the most important thing. it's important to know that going in so that you can make that acquisition in the off season rather than up to the trade deadline where you're,
Exactly.
getting rid of things that you weren't planning on losing. And so, again, I say this all the time, that bias, everyone has it, and it's just important to know about it and know how it factors in rather than being surprised by it. Right? We're not going to eradicate bias, and you can try and do that by looking at only value or only some sort of metric or only some sort of model, which again, all those things are helpful, but then that takes some of the creativity, the nuance out of this that makes us individuals. If we're all using the same things, then it's just kind of a complete luck game.
But I think that's absolutely correct that you mentioned, and I think this is also the kind of progress that you make as a player. So I know in the beginning, I think I started, I think it was 2015, and I jumped into a couple leagues. I listened to the first episode of the Dino Blueprint, listened to some DTC, and I thought, it would be great to join one of the hyperactive leagues. So I started there, and I immediately jumped in. I never did redraft fantasy before anything. I just jumped in. I knew something about fantasy, but I basically learned on the fly. You learn, adjust, and so you move on. But what helped in the beginning was the Dynasty Trade Calculator, because it gave you some certainty on values that you're not too far off, but over time, so in your second year, third year, and in also different leagues helps, you set your own set of values, and you become more self-assured so that okay, I get this trade offer, I think that's too low, or this is a great trade offer, I'm going to smash accept. And someone will love over this trade, or someone will hate it, and someone thinks I won the trade, someone thinks I lost the trade. In the end, I'm feeling good about it, and I move on. If I lost value, so be it. But lost value in the moment is always just a picture of it. We should evaluate trades that are did for a year before, because then you can see real results. Because sometimes you find a diamond in the rough, and you trade two equal players. One is the throw-in, and you win the trade by a mile. Sometimes the player gets hurt, and after 1 year you lost the trade by a mile. So it's always the thinking that you have to win the trade in the second you made it. And I don't think that's the right way to do it. You got to think long term and see if it fits your structure of your roster and what kind of idea you have to play Dynasty and how you want to approach all these things.
Yeah, I think those are really thoughtful, honest, open insights that you have. And I think those are all really important. And it just shows that you've kind of reflected on what's important to you as a Dynasty or fantasy player. And I think that you're maybe more advanced than maybe some others that are asking themselves these similar questions or going through these similar decisions. I mean, we could talk probably all day about this just in general. I'm going to shift us to talk about what we're going to do today. We like to tailor kind of our episodes to a specialty or a particular topic of interest of our guest. And so today, you're the perfect person to talk about kind of the joys and heartaches of commissionership. So we're going to kind of build our show around that and dig a little bit deeper into the intricacies of that, some of the psychological aspects that come about. Kyle, I believe you have some hot cushion questions prepared for Peter, as always. And then I've put together a brief little exercise that I'm calling the Commissioner Conundrum that we'll get to.
Okay. I'm already a little afraid of. I'm already a little afraid of it.
Yeah. As are most people that come on the show.
Well, I think it's really cool. I mean, you said that earlier that you hadn't been on a lot of podcasts, and Kislinger had asked if you wanted to do one, and that wasn't necessarily what you wanted to do at the time. But what did make you want to jump into being a commissioner? Because you just said before you had sensed some different things that were going on, and you said, I want to join this particular league, jump head first into the waters. But what made you jump head first into being a commissioner?
That's pretty easy because in my second year playing Dynasty, I got invited into Picks 2 by Scott Fish. And I played IDP from day one. So my first thinking was that it would be awesome to have a picks type of league for IDP. And I talked to several IDP experts and guys who probably would have the knowledge to make a league like Shark Tank, but nobody wanted to do that, to do it. So in the end, I decided to do it myself and try to create a league that is enjoyable for everyone and also fits my type of personality. Because I think all these leagues, all these great leagues, all represent their commissions. So if you're gonna do the picks leagues, these are Scott Fish leagues, and you know these are Scott Fish leagues. And if you join Red List by Matt Price, you know it's a Matt Price league. If you join a John Bosch league, you know it's a John Bosch league. So I think that's very important to be to think of if you want to be a commish or a good commish.
Yeah, and you mentioned Scott Fish there. You mentioned just being a commissioner and how you became one. Ryan McDowell and Scott Fish have the wonderful Commission Impossible podcast, and I think that's a great place to start if you're becoming a commissioner. They talk a lot about the issues that come up, that kind of strategy of setting things up and getting an active, competitive, interesting league. I think that what I want to do with your time, your valuable time that we have here, is really try and dig into some of the more nuances of actually being a commissioner, and not so much the nuts and bolts of starting one up, but really kind of what it's like for you as a commissioner and a Dynasty player at the same time, because there's a lot of decisions that you have to make where it's the activity of the league or a particular owner or a few owners, and also monitoring the your team's performance and thinking of that, and building a league toward your strengths as a Dynasty owner or your interests, and how all that plays out. So as you became a commissioner, I want to hear a little bit about what your experience was like, kind of juggling this dual role of managing the league and managing your team at the same time.
It was a very new experience because I never thought of commissioning, and so I started with it, and I knew what I wanted to do and what kind of commish I wanted to be, but the necessary time for commishing takes a lot of your time as an owner. So I'm usually one of the guys who probably would trade the most in different leagues. So I had a time in picks where I made, I think, during a span of 3 weeks, I made 20 or 30 trades.
Wow.
And so that changed, and I'm saving my time to make the big decisions. So I don't worry about things like selling someone. So you're in Shark Tank, you can try to sell some back-end players for $5, and if you do it 10 times, you get $50. I don't spend time anymore on doing things like that. And back in the days, I did things like that. So the classic strategy of optimizing all your back-end players to build up your portfolio to get the one stop. And I don't have any more time for things like that. So that changed, and that sucks also, because I'm a pretty competitive guy, and I usually like winning a lot. So yeah, but in the end, the fun of being a commish, so it equals it a bit.
And that was one of the questions I was going to follow up with is, where is that thought process to you about when do you put the throttle down and try to win the league, and when do you just focus on trying to make sure the league is competitive for everyone?
I don't think about equal opportunities for everyone, because Shark Tank was built to have, or Shark Tank 2 was built to have 70 independent owners with who should always, I hope Carla excuses me, who always should man up, do their trades, and never regret. Live with it, and so that I don't worry about an equality in the league and everyone has a similar roster, because I think that everyone runs their team like they want. And there are guys who always want to rebuild and always are running for youth and never go anywhere, and so they can do it if they want. It's their money, but and they can spend it for what they enjoyed. And I'm more of the guy that I'm going to look at it. I'm looking at strengths and weaknesses of my roster, and especially in these leagues like Shark Tank, we have 3 teams who get into the playoffs by record, and when the next 3 are decided by points. And I'm usually the guy, I don't even look at my record anymore. I'm usually looking only at my points and see if I can get into the playoffs. And that's usually my only goal for the year. Get into the playoffs and see what happens then. Because playoffs are, you have to go on a run in leagues like this for 3 weeks, and then you have a chance to win. But to have the chance to get on a run, you have to go into the playoffs. And that's my primary goal, and that's how I build my teams. And from then on, it's basically luck. I don't think you can say that's all based on skill.
I feel like I might know the answer to this question based on that response, but do you feel guilty at all when you win your own leagues that you're commissioning?
No. Why should I?
You shouldn't. Yeah. I mean, I think as you were describing it, you set it up with this individuality and this, kind of independent responsibility. And then, it's fair for everyone from the get-go that, everyone knows the rules and knows the expectation of, activity and that. And as long as, they're aware of that, then yeah, why should you?
Yeah. And I don't get mad if anyone else wins the league, and because in the end of the day we play this for fun, and fun means in a league like this, especially with these kind of owners. Shark Tank is not the usual breed of dynasty owners that you get in a normal offense-only league. These are all hard-nosed IDP guys who talk a lot of shit, are opinionated, and they talk about everything, really everything. So our chat is sometimes toxic, and you can't say it different. And it's getting better, but sometimes it's getting worse, and so we move on a pretty fine line there. But all these guys are very opinionated, very skilled guys. So why should I feel bad if I beat one of them? I'm probably gonna rub it in their face, to be honest. So
Yeah, I find that
that's the kind of league that I wanted to build.
Yeah.
I think that what you've done there is great. That chat room, I mean, saying it's toxic it's just people that are willing to spout their opinion regardless of whether that opinion is popular or not. And so there's been a few times where there's, I mean, there's an argument over this or an argument over that, has nothing to do with fantasy football, but it's kind of what keeps that group together. And then, maybe somebody goes, yeah, let's change the subject. I'm trying to sell this guy. Will somebody buy this guy for some shark bucks? And it really does create that that engaged attitude, regardless of whether it was a bad topic to talk about. So I think that that's a good part of what you do in the commissioning.
Thank you. it not always feels great to look at the chat and think, oh, you created this monster.
Yeah, kind of a follow-up to what I asked about winning the league. I wonder, on teams that, in leagues that you're the commissioner, on teams that you're not as competitive or, struggling to kind of get through the rebuilding process. I don't know if you ever kind of leave teams or leave leagues or if you always stick it out, but I would guess that there's some added pressure to maintain that team and stick around with it and fight through it if you're the commissioner, because, you're not going to fully abandon the league and you got nowhere to go. And so I'm wondering what that process is like when your questions aren't, how can I, make a push for the playoff based on where I'm at in points. And if it's just clear that, you've got your work ahead of, you got your work cut out for you.
I think that's the usual response that you have, responsibility as an owner that you have. Because if I'm joining a league, all I have to do is be an active owner, set my lineup, make trades, and do what I can do to make my roster the best and see if I can win more games than lose games. And I don't really have a problem with rebuilding. My Shark Tank League teams are pretty good, so I'm okay with them. But if I would have to rebuild, I would do it in a heartbeat. In Pick 3, for example, I not really botched the startup auction, but I wasn't happy about it. And at the end of year one, I basically traded everything that I had only for Devi money. And I ended up with having, I think, 18 Devi players and Joe Mixon. So going into next year, I'm going to have Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Tua, Akers, Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, Joe Mixon, Rondell Moore, LaVisca Chenault, Cooper Kupp, and gonna be competitive. But I had to wait 2 years, and that's one aspect that I like about the Picks leagues, and that I took it into Shark Tank also is the Devi aspect, because you can build a roster from ground zero. You can build it through Devi, you can build it through the draft, you can trade for that. And I'm the kind of guy who thinks all these types of things are assets that you can try to trade. And the more trades we have in a league, the more the people are engaged and try to do anything to become better. And in the end of the day, people have to make uncomfortable decisions, because there's no clear value on a lot of these things, because there's so many players. You have Devi players that you have to account for and set a price for them. You have picks that have a range of money that they can come out depending on how the team scored in the league. So if you get a first round pick, it can be 240 or it can be 480 bucks. And all these things together are quite unique, so that everyone has to make a decision for themselves. And that's why I don't really have regrets if someone makes bad trades or something like that. I often think what kind of stupid trade was that, but I wouldn't jump in and do anything as a commish. And I think you can ask Scott Fish, John Bosch, all the same. That's the guys I learned commishing from. They would never jump in and veto a trade or think about any trade. They are running the league and they want to win their league. And I don't think there's nothing bad about it.
Yeah, so I want to ask just one more question, and I want to try and kind of gear toward what you said a lot of things that are important to you as a commissioner, and I want to know what's the most important thing. If you can have control over one thing, or you can have one sort of outcome as a commissioner for your teams, the league, the format, the size, whatever it is, what's most important for you?
The most important thing for me is that I have 55 happy owners who love the league, who are engaged and in the chat, and who also stick up for each other. So if someone, I don't know, loses his job or gets sick or anything like else, the others should step up, from my opinion, and try to help these guys. So if you're having a hard time, basically your family helps you through it, and everyone is there for the other guy. And that is also my thinking, and so include myself into it. So I'm happy then too, and that's what's the most important part for me. I don't think it's the game itself is the glue that keeps us together, because we care about the game and playing fantasy and talk shit to each other and ridicule each other. But in the end of the day, we are all 56 or 70 humans like in Shark Tank, and I want them to feel like we're a big family in there, and in a family there's fighting, there's joy and everything. And that's what I think Fantasy League should be. A great group of guys who stick up for each other.
Yeah,
I like that.
So,
it's like a secondary family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically. So winning is a part of it, and the money is also nice, but you won't get rich through Shark Tank leagues, and that's an issue that some of the guys have, because you need to have crazy skill to win it, and in the end you wouldn't get rich out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the great part about these leagues is that you have so much knowledge in it and people who try to help each other, and that's what's more important for me. So I got several guys through Shark Tank into the Pigs leagues, and all these guys, they connect to the people that I got to know through all the years. So I'm just a lucky guy, basically. I got into Pigs too, and I got to know all these guys who are basically the OGs of fantasy. And so why shouldn't I share some of it with all these guys?
I love it.
And
the value is in the friendships and in the time invested, more so than the dollars coming out of it. So I think that's very well put. Well, it is time for me to scoot down to the other end of the couch so you can take my place on the hot cushion, Peter. Today I'm going to ask and discuss your fantasy football footprint and follow that up with some questions, but please keep in mind that I'm going to be very direct, to the point, and brutally honest. And the questions are not necessarily going to be easy. Is that okay?
That's okay. I'm used to answering not easy questions. So, yeah, jump in.
Perfect. So before we get into the meat of this potato, I'm going to ask just a few things about you. Question 1. If you had to choose one of your commissioned leagues as your favorite, which would it be?
Shark Tank 1.
The original, the OG Shark Tank 1. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take that as a slight, but that'll work. So question number 2, whereabout do you live in this world?
I'm living in Stuttgart in Germany, home of the best car manufacturers, Porsche, Mercedes, home of Bosch and lots of other great companies. I'm living in Stuttgart, born in Stuttgart City. Proud to be born here. I'm a great fan of the soccer club here, and that's where I live.
Beautiful.
Stuttgart is in Baden-Württemberg for all the Americans who want to look at. And I even think there's a Stuttgart in the States over there.
I love it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't have much opinion of Stuttgart, but I'm I don't know if you're a soccer or football fan, but I have like an American rooting interest in Borussia Dortmund just because of Christian.
Claudio Reyna's son.
Yeah, and then I think wasn't Pulisic there before? Before
Pulisic
he went to
was
Chelsea?
there before he went to Chelsea. Yeah, Pulisic.
Yeah,
was,
so it's kind of it's like the welcoming ground for the American youth that's coming over there, and there are other guys, in Italy, and I think there's some other guys in the Bundesliga as well. But yeah, when is Stuttgart gonna pick up the next American phenom?
And I think at the moment we had Julian Green. Do you remember Julian Green?
Mm-hmm.
He's not necessarily a phenomenon, but I think with the son from Claudio Reyna, he's great. He's crazy skilled from Dortmund. He shot the only goal in the loss to Stuttgart. And I think Stuttgart has some great young players now, but I don't think we have an American player. Our coach, I think his father is an American. He's half Italian, half American. Pellegrino Materazzo.
So that's what comes fast.
I'm a great fan of soccer. I played since I was 6, and before I started playing fantasy football, I played some manager game for soccer, but I was kind of bored, so I needed something new, and then I started playing fantasy.
All right, so my third question will be, what is the biggest successful player that you have pulled off of waivers?
Adam Thielen.
Oh, wow. That's a good one. I just remember last year going, I could have gotten Waller. So he's sitting right there. Nobody had Waller in this one particular league. And I just let him sit there and picked up, some other scrub that turns out to be nothing, right? But, that's my regret. I had Waller and he was in my grasp and I was eyeing him. And no, he's not going to be anything. Boy, I couldn't have been any more wrong on him.
But Waller is a good one. I think I got Waller in 3 leagues also. I think I got him in Red List 2, for example.
Yeah,
Waller
I was
also a great one.
I was on Waller and had him, I think, last year in all. I think I had 5 leagues, and now I'm at 9. But I'd had him in all 5, and now I have him in just 1. That's like a tight end super premium. But of course, in my most important home league, my most expensive league, I'm playing against him this week. So it's a nice dose of like trading him away and then having it come back to me. But
that was fun. But my biggest waiver crush was probably Cam Meredith back in the days.
Oh yeah, everybody he looked like he was going to be something, man, but he just couldn't get it together.
I loved the guy, and the knee injury killed him. I lost him on the bed, and then he went to the Saints, and I thought, next step, playing with Drew Brees, and the knee went. I think the knee was completely shot at one point.
So, he was going to get 130 targets in Chicago that year before preseason game 3, the dress rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm a beer guy.
Fantasy crush.
Sorry, I'm shifting gears here. I'm a beer guy, so I wanted to talk about beer. I brew my own, but I've also been to Belgium and several other places. So, Bremersh. I kept forgetting to re-say Tim's name as I butchered in one of our previous episodes. But if you had to drink a beer from only one country for the rest of your days, what country would that be?
Germany.
Germany is a good one. There's so many.
Never would have expected
makes
that.
some great beers. I'd have to go Belgium. Belgium is like, variety.
We Belgium ones, they have too much. I think it's hop in English. They have these kind of triple hop things and like that, and we're a bit more traditional, I think. And I'm one of the more a Pils guy. Pils is in German. We have some great beers over here. So yeah, I wouldn't go to another country for a beer. So
you like German Pils over the Czech Pils, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. They're totally different styles, and for a brewer, it's amazing. They're both very, very good styles of beer.
Yeah, and if you live here in Europe, you basically can go to so many different countries, and every beer tastes different.
It does.
And there's a lot of small breweries, but we are also hit by COVID because all these restaurants and brauhouses, and we don't have the Wiesn, the Oktoberfest. There was no Oktoberfest, and this hurt all the breweries over here. So there's less beer drinking.
It's unfortunate. I went, I've only been to Germany for one day. I was in Belgium and we stopped over in Dusseldorf, and I'd have to say that the alt beer is probably one of my all-time favorite styles of beer. Amazing.
All this great in the small, I think it's 0.2 glasses. So you drink one and it's basically empty after three sips, and you basically get another one. And usually you get in Germany it's a Kranz, where you get a thing with 10 beers in it, and you usually get it for your whole table, and everyone can pick up. And if you go with a lot of guys, you basically order one, and as soon as she brings it, you order the next one. So then you get the delivery hand in hand.
That's perfect. I love it. So my final intro question, what is your favorite part about fantasy dragon boating?
I like the art in the dragons because I'm usually looking at the dragon boats with my son, and we love Vicky. I don't know if there's Vicky in the States, because Vicky is a comic figure over here, and she's a small Wikinger. So we have the dragon boats there, and we like to see the different types of dragons on all these boats. And I'm usually looking at the aerodynamics of all these boats. That's one area that you have to look out for. It's not always the power within it, it's the aerodynamics.
It is very interesting to see these paddlers that have to be only on one side. I actually like those who can ambi paddle. Like that's important to me. Those who can actually go on either side. But now it's time for the hard-hitting analysis and drama-laden questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready for drama.
Commissioning leagues is an art form, and I consider your work to be like that of Pablo Picasso. You aren't sure what you're looking at with first glance, but over time you can't help but marvel at the beauty of the work. The weeping woman with offset eyes. I see it like a mound of jello jiggling. I find myself looking, unable to take my eyes away. I love the song Eye of the Tiger from Rocky, even though I know I am on an island. Hurricanes have high winds, but also a very calm center. What is the term for increased water level caused by a hurricane?
Jesus Christ. It's ebb and flow, but I don't know what's the increased water level because of a hurricane. Is it a tsunami?
Nope, it would be a storm surge. Storm surge.
Okay, good to know.
Yes.
That's one thing. That's where it makes difficult to have the German and English words. So.
I tried to take that into account at least a little bit in here, make it somewhat easier. I think probably this next question will be a little easier to answer, so we'll see how this goes. Question number 2.
Well, hold on. I speak English as my primary language, and I had no clue. So
Yeah, I don't think that's giving you any disadvantage on these.
you're just as lost.
I thought through the whole question. I thought, when is the end coming, and what do I have to look for?
When do I have to?
That's how most people consume the show.
Yeah, I've seen several of them. I've seen all the Shark Tank intro videos that Kyle made, and so I'm kind of used to his weird questions. But if you haven't gotten one yourself, you basically missed out on the experience. So you're waiting and waiting and waiting.
That's right. There's no way to prepare.
Question number 2.
Okay.
Peter, you commish a lot of leagues with wild and crazy rules. I wanted to join an IDP league with my Twitter handle @DoglegBrewer, which is how I ended up in Shark Tank 2. IDP stands for Insane Down Posse, which is a group of enthusiastic people that enjoy very soft goose feather-filled blankets. I, Kyle on the couch, have absolutely loved my time playing in Shark Tank 2, and I think it is a wonderful and unique experience. Jeremy and I once compared dynasty value to real estate value, but Jared thinks value isn't real, so he also doesn't believe in commercial real estate. Jared is afraid of IDP leagues and also thinks David Hasselhoff is overrated. Who is your favorite co-host of the Dynasty Self Help Podcast?
Still Jeremy, because I think David Hasselhoff is overrated.
Yes.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. That is wrong. The answer was Kyle on the couch @DoglegBrewer.
Weak.
I tried to make that one easy for you.
Nah,
I chose correctly. You won't get a point on the board, but you got a point in my heart.
I think
All right.
I think Hasselhoff was great during the fall of the Berlin Wall, and everybody loved him. Do you know the sequence when Dirk Nowitzki sang "I've been looking for freedom"? He sang the song during a free throw to calm him down. So that's that's things that we Germans do. We listen to the House and we watch Knight Rider, and so, yeah.
Well, I love it. Dirk playing for my Dallas Mavericks is a wonderful thing. We love him. He's near and dear. Wonderful player. Brought us a championship in 2011. Couldn't have done it without him.
I watched every game. He's my number one sports figure in Germany.
As he should be for everyone. But I have to move on to our third question. So question number 3. I have experienced meeting a variety of people in the leagues you commish that have a can-do attitude. They often give me a new zeal for the game, causing me to south a freak out. Sometimes when a star player is out because of a Belging disc, it is a great Brit deal of Spain for my squad. But sometimes I am awestruck by the Irelanded on my team after the draft. It makes me say, Norway, I will let you beat me. I get hungry for a Serbian of victory. Last season, I had a Latvia of fun trying to leave my Denmark on the EFFC2. But after a solid regular season, early playoff loss Romania'd my only trophy. How many countries did I mention in this Netherlanding play on words question?
Can I swear on this one?
You can, yes.
Fuck me. So I heard a lot of countries in it, and I think Europe has around. So I'm 23.
Not quite. I only got to 14 in there, but
only 14.
That's pretty close.
But you did a great job of hiding them in there. So I know. I thought about where it could go because I thought about Ireland is David try to let me think about Decky, or what do you want to go with it? 14 countries, not bad.
I want to.
like it.
Kyle, do you have the list of them in front of you?
Yes,
There
I
was
have.
Latvia,
I want to try and
Latvia.
Guess.
You want to guess
So
the
let's
one?
do it- let's
I've
do
got
it
them right here.
together.
Tell
Yeah,
me.
Peter and I can guess
Yeah.
them. We'll go back and
We got-
forth. We'll make a game out of this.
Yeah. So you start.
Okay. Ireland,
You got Ireland, yes.
I got the Netherlands.
Netherlands, yep.
Romania,
Yep. Romania,
Latvia.
definitely
Latvia.
Latvia.
Hungary,
Hungary was one.
Spain.
Spain was in there.
we got all the ones that were at the end, and so now I'm trying to think. Belgium,
Belgian disc, yep.
Fuck. Was France in there?
I did not put France in there, no.
Ooh.
No. No, I'm out. I thought about
Norway.
Sweden.
Norway.
Norway
yep.
was definitely in there.
There's Norway. I will let you beat me.
Yeah. Did you say? Oh, I'll let Peter go. If he has.
Three.
No. You try.
We'll do it together. Did you say Germany?
I did not. I left that one off intentionally.
I
That would be
figured
too
so.
easy.
That was bait.
It would have been
Yeah.
germane to the subject matter, though.
There you go.
Was it Poland?
I didn't
Don't
put
think
Poland in there.
I don't think I heard Poland. Russia. Did I hear
No.
Russia?
No.
Also no. Jesus Christ. Have these been all European countries?
No, there was one that was not.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm out.
I snuck
I'm
in
out
the
too.
can-do attitude to put in our great white north neighbors. I also put in something outside of the area because there was a New Zeal for the game, causing me to South Afrique out. So I got South Africa and New Zealand as well.
Didn't catch those.
I'm a moron because all these countries are guys from Shark Tank.
I tried to go with the ones I knew from Shark Tank. That was really my goal there.
Well, so
You get
that's
half point for figuring out the subtext there.
That's right. Well, that's the interesting kind of psychological dynamic in how we were guessing there. We guessed, we both kind of were going back and forth with the ones that were named last, and then the ones that stuck out to us, like if we remembered a phrase like Norway or something with Ireland.
I had something with France and France. But
Oh, right. Been a good one, yeah.
This was my thought process because I thought maybe that, but yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And then as you started to hear some of them that Kyle was mentioning afterward, your brain was like, okay, how can I make sense of these countries? And it's like, oh, Shark Tank.
Yep.
And so that's how it, that's how the brain does its cool things.
Yeah.
I'm always Austriac by how well the brain can put those puzzles together.
Yep. Was Austria also in it? Jesus Christ. So Austria is
So, yep, it was 14. I'm with Richard. We're going to give a half a point because we did figure out the general theme of that through the discussion afterwards. So easy half point to credit there. But we have one final question. Question number 4. Adam Sandler is well known for being an actor and comedian through the 90s all the way to today. Sandler plays guitar as a part of his stand-up and makes amazing goofy faces to entertain me. He starred in the most classic football movie, Waterboy, but also the remake of a rough and dirty football movie, The Longest Yard. In 1999, Adam Sandler starred in a major motion picture, but it wasn't the one with Helena Bonham Carter. What 1999 movie was it that Helena Bonham Carter and Meatloaf shared the silver screen?
The Wedding Maker.
Nope, this was Fight Club. Fight Club. Helena Bonham Carter, Meatloaf, a couple other people I don't really remember. who those would be.
1999 was, I think it was also the year of Wedding Maker with Adam Sandler. And you got me with that again because I'm a huge Adam Sandler fan. And one of my teams is called The Waterboy.
It's a phenomenal movie. I think Big Daddy was 99. I think Wedding Singer may have been 98.
He was on
Either
such
way,
a good stretch there with all those from, Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore and Big Daddy and Mr. Deeds and I'm probably
Mr. Deeds was awesome.
So many good
Mr.
ones.
Deeds was awesome. Yeah, these are all great movies. And I think Wedding Singer could be even earlier. I think I was 18 at that time, should be 1997 or something like that.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, that rates up there as one of my top 3. We used to do a thing with my friends where we would try to rate all of the Adam Sandler movies, and you're putting them in there, and you'd have to determine which one ends up being the best movie. It's amazing how some of those ratings vary.
It's so many for also, and usually the best ones are those who have Drew Barrymore in it, because I think Drew Barrymore is very funny too, and so that usually works pretty good together.
50 First Dates was great.
Awesome movie.
Okay, well, thank you for your time. I appreciate your candid and truthful answers and my insightful and hard-hitting analysis. But I'm going to kick this back over to Jeremy, and maybe we'll follow up some of this commissioner talk.
Yeah, and we're going to do it in a bit of a semi-structured way, but hopefully one that's fun and maybe challenging to some degree. So we're going to do an exercise, as I mentioned earlier, called the Commissioner Conundrum. So you mentioned at the end of our first segment about just talking about being a commissioner and all the things involved with that, that basically it was, kind of the glue that kept people together, the active owners, the good group that's really there for each other as kind of the primary focus. But I want to get at some other kind of underlying motivations and ultimate goals of being a commissioner. And so what I'm going to have you do is listen to a list of either or questions, and we will spend a little bit of time reviewing your responses at the end. So I'm going to ask you either this or this, and if you want to think it out loud, go for it, or if you have an initial reaction, go for that. We'll just see how this all goes. Does that sound all right?
That's perfect. I'm usually the guy who goes with his gut. So this could be short answers at first, and if we dig deeper, there could be something hidden behind it.
Yeah, we'll look at it all afterwards. This is a little
perfect,
potentially psychological examination here. So, would you rather join a new league or go through the process of starting a new league of your own?
Tough one. I'll explain it later. Start a new one.
Okay. I'm just going to highlight these as we go. So the next one is either a high money league, or would you prefer a lower stakes league and more emphasizing the fun aspect of it?
Lower stakes and fun.
Okay. How about either a league with people or with a group of people that maybe respected and of, but you don't know personally?
No opinion on it, to be honest. I don't have a preference.
All right, no opinion. I may force you to have an opinion on some of these other ones, but that one I'll let slide. Okay, so you were talking about this a little bit earlier, but would you rather have a competitive league where even the worst teams are still maybe close to, or if not in contention, or one where everyone's having fun regardless of how competitive it is?
I want to have a competitive league.
Okay. All right. Next one is So this is kind of a follow-up to the earlier one. Would you rather grow an existing league either by, word of mouth or people talking about it, or expanding just the number of people in the league, or start a new league fresh?
That's also a tricky one because I want to do both at the same time.
You
probably.
have to choose.
So I'm going to choose start a new league.
Okay. Start it from scratch.
Yes.
All right. Would you rather try a new format? Well, try a format that's new to you, or create a brand new format that's new to everyone?
Tough one too. I would do both, but I think at the moment I would create my own one.
Okay. Yeah, these might be growing in difficulty, but we'll see. Okay. Would you rather consistently make the playoffs in your own league, or win one title without being in the playoffs other years?
Constantly being in the playoffs.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's an interesting one. We can unpack it later, but I think that's where I typically fall is, you were talking about just giving yourself a shot. This is a weird kind of like, am I guaranteeing you a title or what? But I'd rather make the playoffs, for 5 years rather than, guarantee myself, 1 year where I'm guaranteed in the title as the favorite or something like that. If, we take the full outcome out of it. The ultimate goal is to win, but at the same point, you're giving yourself maybe more opportunity to win, and it's fun and it's engaging if you're not out of it.
So my thinking on this is that I rather be in the hunt every year. Mm-hmm. So rather than sucking for 4 years and win it 1 year out of luck or something else and suck for another 4 years, because I think skill in this case means you should have a shot each year. And if you have a shot each year, you're a skilled dynasty player. If you have these peaks and lows and up and downs, there's some randomness to it. You can always say, there's injuries or something else, but usually if you have a good roster, you can overcome some kind of injury. So that's why I'm sticking with that. Even when I think it's a tough question, because you don't win a league like Shark Tank or Picks 3 times in 5 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Would you rather have players you like but not be as competitive, or be stuck with players you don't like that much but you're consistently winning, and in this case you can't trade?
I'd rather have the guys I like.
Okay. I'm not sure if a lot of people would choose that side, but I understand why you do. And I think I don't know. That one's a tough one for me. Would you rather win your league or win someone else's league?
I think my leagues are the toughest to win, so I would be fine if I win my own league.
Okay. Talking about the intricacies of that league and the activity in it, would you rather have your leagues talked about on Twitter, or settle for no mention of it but have a good group of active owners?
That's usually the tough thing, because these kind of leagues only work if someone talks on Twitter about them. And there's also the personal aspect of it, because if someone talks about your league or mentions your league in something and says it's great run, you can take pride in it, and it's satisfying. So
you can't have both, though, Peter. Guaranteed in this question, you have to choose. You want it talked about, maybe implying that there's some activity, but not guaranteed, or people that aren't on Twitter and live under a rock and are making trades every day.
I'm going to take the active league. The other thing is, as I said, personal satisfaction, but personal satisfaction shouldn't be the priority in this case. Mm-hmm. So activity in the league and having 56 great owners who enjoy the league is way more important.
Sure. And as you said, with this community, most of those go hand in hand, but I like to make it hard. All right. Okay. Would you rather have someone complain about your league on Twitter or be an inactive member of your league?
Cool. Complain on Twitter.
Okay.
No publicity is bad publicity.
That's right.
I think inactivity is shows that people don't care. If someone complains, he cares.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, just 2 more. So, would you rather grow a league that you've created in attention or engagement, or a second year of it or a second iteration, or would you rather grow the game of Dynasty overall in Europe?
Cool. I would rather grow my own leagues, to be honest, because I think what I do in Europe is, I think someone else could do it also. That's not me related, because I think there's a great community and you only have to find someone who organizes all these things. And so I don't see myself as the important part in it.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one, because I actually thought you were going to answer the other way, but now that I think about it, like, it really wouldn't matter if my leagues were based in Europe or South America or Australia or wherever. It's I'm not really seeing most of, I have connections I've made with people, and then I have a home league, but I'm not with anyone that I'm playing against in town or even in my state necessarily in a lot of cases. So yeah, that makes sense. All right, and finally, would you rather grow a league that you've created to be one of the most talked about, largest, most active, awesome leagues, or would you rather have a German football player become extremely fantasy relevant in the NFL? Like wide receiver 2 or even wide receiver 1.
The equivalent of Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah, exactly. What would you get more satisfaction from?
Seeing a guy winning in the NFL.
All right. That was the ultimate underlying motivation there. Do you want the personal success, or do you want the national success and the pride that comes along with that?
And I think what a lot of people don't realize, there's also some added pressure if you have a league that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. I don't think it's easy for Scott Fish to run a league like the Scott Fish Bowl, because everyone has so high expectations for this league, and you can basically at this moment only let people beg or disappoint people. So if someone out of the 10,000 who try to join and don't get in, they are usually disappointed. But it's and they get mad at Scott. But what should he do? At one point, you have 1,500 people who join this league. That's immense, and all this he thinks he does in the background only to run these leagues. So I don't want to have this pressure. So it's easier for me to root for a German guy succeeding in the NFL than having this type of responsibility. That's not what I want to do. That's also not my goal. Never had been.
Mm-hmm. So let's follow this this pipe dream of having a German player become extremely fantasy relevant. What would that be like for you? I know that I think probably you probably know better than I, but I remember Moritz Beringer. Is that how you say that? Yeah. He was, I think, he might have been on the Vikings at some point. I know he was like a practice squatter or a preseason guy at some point, but you know, I don't know if there's anyone else that comes to mind as who had a shot. But what would that experience be like for you?
Amon-Ra St. Brown is German. So Equanimeous St. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and his Isirius, I think, is his smaller brother. They are all German guys. And Amon-Ra would be awesome if he becomes a great player, because I like how he plays and everything, have him in some Devy leagues. And I also thought about Equanimeous and hoped he would develop into a great player. So, And I think we already had some great stories with Sebastian Vollmer, who was he the left tackle for Tom Brady, and to see him succeed. But football is not so great over here, so everyone who thinks of the American sports is probably thinking of Leon Draisaitl and all these guys in the NHL, Dirk Nowitzki. I think we have Dennis Schröder now with the Lakers, so maybe he gets some publicity. But I think the German football community is rising, and would be great for them to have a German guy. For me, I'm the funny thing for me, my fantasy community is American. I didn't have any ties to the European community, other than a couple of guys that I met through leagues. So all this EFFC thing started last June or something. I didn't have ties to anyone who played in Germany. I played for, I think, 1 or 2 years in German leagues. And if you play in a league like Pigs, and I don't want to say something bad, but the talent level of players, or the skill that we fantasy players had, it's different in a league like Pigs or in a German league. And I think it's also in other leagues it's different, because when Pigs 2 started back then, we had so many experts who knew so much, and for me it was a great growing experience, and I learned a lot of it. So that's where my I would say my foundation sticks. It's Pigs 2, and basically all my contacts and friends I made had been through Pigs 2.
Yeah, I think that is all, again, just shows how kind of reflective you are about your whole dynasty, existence, and where it came from, and who's around you, and how it goes, and what things are important to you going forward. Just for the sake of repeating some of these answers, I want to go back through them, and if there's anything that stands out to you. I know we've talked a little bit about some of these, but you would prefer, I'm just going to read the ones that you chose. So you'd prefer to go through the process of starting a new league, maybe at lower stakes for more fun. You would like those to be competitive, as universal as possible. You would prefer maybe to start a new format rather than trying something that's just new to you, starting your own kind of new format. Consistently making the playoffs, is kind of your goal. Having players that
Yes.
you like, which you mentioned earlier as well. Winning your leagues is paramount to you because it's difficult to do. Again, having a good group of active owners. You don't care if somebody complains; you just want them to be active, and then of course, having a German player succeed someday.
Yes.
Would you say that those components kind of comprise your focus as a commissioner, as you're trying to seek out new opportunities, new leagues, and really prioritize where you're spending your time as both a commissioner and a dynasty owner?
I think it fits me pretty nicely because I'm at a point at the moment where I think in around 20 dynasty leagues. So if I join a new one, I would. It needs to be something special. So I'm done with the 12-team, one copy leagues and snake draft. I don't get any kick out of them anymore. So it's usually some kind of auction league that I'm looking for, and with new wrinkles. And so Scott talked about delayed dynasty, where you draft each year until you have full rosters for some time. Vampire leagues and something like that. I would love to be a vampire at one moment, but it got crazy in Red List 3, where one vampire got sold off for, I think, $500 in the end. So yeah, that's crazy. Shout out to Ben Burridge. I think he got it. He's a guy from Shark Tank, so and he's usually a very competitive guy. And in all these leagues he's in, he's at the top of it. So yeah.
Oh, I do remember that. That was for charity too. They were donating that money.
Was for charity. Yeah.
Yeah, he's good. He's I believe he's in Scott Fishbowl in the conference finals. So
yeah, and I think he made it in Shark Tank 1 definitely, because he beat me out. And in Shark Tank 2, I think he could be also in the final rounds before in the semifinals. But I'm not 100% sure. But also great guy, so yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that little exercise kind of helped you reflect as a commissioner, as a dynasty owner, about things that you've probably thought of at points, but when you have to make a decision between two answers that you want or two answers you don't want, it can be another way to just kind of push yourself. And as the listeners of this podcast, if I encourage you to answer those questions as well as I asked them to Peter there. And if your answers align with Peter, there's great leagues that that Peter and we have mentioned from Scott Fish and Ryan McDowell and John Bosch. But if your priorities kind of align with Peter's, certainly seek him out and see if there's any openings or new leagues that he's interested in starting up.
Yeah.
And he's a great follow and a great certainly a commissioner and a great fantasy guy as well.
Yeah, thanks for these words. And yeah, anyone who wants to try something new, they can all reach out to me. I'm usually around on Twitter. Jeremy mentioned it. I'm at the _FF_German. That's and I can tell you the reason for the 2 underscores. It's because I thought of the FF engineer.
Kevin O'Brien.
And he has the 2. Yeah, Kevin O'Brien, and he has the 2 underscores too. So I called myself the FF German, and I wanted to create something unique back in the days, and I always play with it as a German, because I'm the weirdo from Germany who got into all these leagues, and I'm usually saying that I don't have a clue, so trade with me and rip me. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. So yeah, that's where the FF German comes from.
Yeah, and you and Kevin O'Brien now are then setting the stage for the next Twitter handle that some German engineer once, and he's the underscore FF underscore German engineer. And then the cycle is complete.
That would be nice. Let's see. Maybe my son in 20 years, maybe he's the FF German engineer.
There you go.
That would be great. So, yeah.
Well, thanks again for joining us, man. Jumping on, being your first podcast. I mean, you did great. Your answers to the questions and your insight, even on some of the other subject matter we discussed, was very helpful to me. I definitely appreciated it, and appreciate you having me as a part of your Shark Tank 2 leagues. I've said it once again, and said it before, that I feel like those are just a real true test of your mettle in this fantasy football world. And I appreciate that level of commitment for you as a commissioner to put something like that together.
You're welcome. I'm happy I decided to do them. And yeah, it was a great honor for me to join you guys. I said, I didn't want to do a normal standard Dynasty podcast and without any negativity. I just don't wanted to talk about values and what kind of value do you set for this player or that player. I think that is way more fun what you are doing, because you give the guys a glimpse of what other minds are thinking and their thought process behind the things. And that's, for me, that's a way better experience and a way better way to learn some new things and think about your habits. So yeah, I'm very honored to be a part of your show, and yeah, I hope we do this at any point again, and maybe there are some new things in the future coming. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. And as things hopefully expand and you come up with new great ideas for leagues, I'm sure there will be even more to talk about and more frustrations and more psychological things to get into. And so we were extremely pleased and happy when you agreed to come on, and I've had a blast today. I'm excited for the Eurovision, I guess year 3 of it. And the Eurovision Fantasy Football Contest, year 3 coming up. So I'm excited to be a part of that in some capacity. And for any of our listeners that aren't following Peter already, you definitely need to do so. And just thanks again, Peter. We had so much fun. You bringing on your thoughts, your ideas, your psychological experiences and mind, as well as your experience as a commissioner. So we thank you again. That's all the time we have for today.
Thanks. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Guys,
Follow us.
My kids are already waiting. So yeah, guys. I've got to wish you a great Saturday with football today, and yeah, I'm out for now. I'm gonna take care of my kids so my wife can take a shower. Perfect.
Well, thanks, we appreciate it. Follow us at Dynasty Self Help. Follow our producer Rich at Streaming Rich, Kyle at Dogleg Brewer, and I'm at Jared Schwob. We will see you next time.
Perfect. Bye, guys.
All right, Peter. Thanks.
Thanks, Peter.
He's got to hang out from all 5 of his things.
Yeah.
There we go.
Right.
5,000 connections.
That's right.